Hey learner, in this video let's try to learn something about diuretics. Let's learn about the classification of diuretics. But before understanding diuretics, we must first learn about diuresis. So what is actually diuresis? Diuresis is a condition in which you have to go to the washroom again and again to pass more and more urine. More and more urine means more and more loss of sodium and water in the urine. Now the drugs which force you to go to the bathroom to pass more urine are nothing but diuretics, right? Now, based upon their efficacy, diuretics can be classified into high efficacy drugs, compelling you to go to the washroom more and more compared to the other drugs, the medium efficacy drug, and the weak efficacy drug. In high efficacy drug includes the loop diuretics. In medium efficacy, we include thiazides and thiazide-like, and the weak efficacy drug we include carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, osmotic diuretics, and potassium-sparing diuretics. Oh, that's so much. But for now, just remember these three classification: high efficacy, medium efficacy, and the weak efficacy. Now, the high efficacy drugs are also known as the high ceiling drugs because they are the most dominant drug among all diuretics because they cause more diuresis as compared to the other drugs. And the drugs includes are the loop diuretics, right? Now, these loop diuretics inhibit a channel known as the sodium potassium 2 chloride co-transporter, which is present in the thick ascending limb of the loop of Henle. That's why called as the loop diuretics. They inhibit this channel, and the drugs includes the furosemide, bumetanide, torsemide, ethacrynic acid. Oh my god, these names. But wait for the mnemonic, right? Wait. These medium efficacy drugs include the thiazides and the thiazide-like. These thiazide drugs inhibit a channel known as the sodium chloride symphotor channel in the DCT, or the distal convoluted tubule. They inhibit this channel. In the thiazides, we include a drug known as the hydrochlorothiazide, or the HCZ, under the benzothiazidines class, while the thiazide-like drugs include the chlorthalidone, metolazone, indapamide, and the clopamide. In the weak efficacy drugs, we have got three classes: the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, the potassium sparing diuretics, and the osmotic diuretics. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, as its name already suggests, that it inhibits an enzyme known as carbonic anhydrase in the PCT of the nephron, and the drugs included are acetazolamide, brinzolamide, and the dorzolamide. While the potassium sparing diuretics are further of two types: the aldosterone antagonist and the renal ENaC inhibitors. The aldosterone antagonist, as its name suggests, that it inhibits or antagonizes the aldosterone receptor, and the drugs included are spironolactone, eplerenone, and the renal ENaC inhibitors inhibit the epithelial sodium channel of the collecting duct, and the drugs included are amiloride and triamterene. While the osmotic diuretics, they don't inhibit any receptor or something, but they physically work, which we'll be learning in the further slides. And the examples include the mannitol, glycerol, and the isosorbide. Now, having learned about these classes on a broad term, now it's time for some mnemonic, right? See, I'm not a fan of mnemonic, but for those who want mnemonic, I have created a short story. So this is how the story goes. So it's a very good morning. It's the month of Feb, and you went into the bathroom in the washroom, doing your morning work with your daily newspaper. Now, in the bathroom, being a pharmacologist, in the bathroom or in the washroom, you sat over the toilet seat, but you spared the back part of the toilet seat. You did not cover whole seat, you spared the back part. Why did you spare? Because there was potassium over the seat. So spared the potassium, right? So spared the seat. From the seat, you can remember the potassium sparing diuretics as S for spironolactone, E for eplerenone, A for amiloride, and T for triamterene. Now, as you were to sit comfortably, you remembered your nursery days when you feared learning ABCD as you feared the potassium on your seat. You feared learning ABCD. Now you fear learning A to Z, right? A to Z. But you only knew till ABCD, and we require the ABCD right now, right? So from ABCD, you remember C as the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, right? And the examples include A for acetazolamide, B for brinzolamide, and D for dorzolamide, right? Now, as you read through your daily newspaper, you're shocked, you're surprised to see that it's 29th of February. 29th of February, wait. It comes in leap year, right? Oh, it's so special day today. So you name this auspicious day as the Fab Toilet Day. Fab Toilet, right? So leap year, here you learn the loop. Leap, loop, right? And the loop diuretics include these drugs, the Fab Toilet drugs. The F for furosemide, E for ithacrinic acid, B for bumetanide, and the T from the toilet, the torsemide, right? So loop diuretics, Fab Toilet. Now, as you go through your newspaper, the daily newspaper, one headline catches your attention, and that is like a boy in the Thailand uh, micturated chlorine in his urine. It's not, I don't know, it's a mnemonic, just remember it. A boy in the Thailand micturated chlorine in his urine. So you remember as a boy in the Thailand, micturated chlorine. So he micturated chlorine. From you remember the HCZ or the hydrochlorothiazide. From micturate, the M stands for the metal ozone, I for indapamide, and C for clopamide. And at last, the chlorine, you take the chlor and remember the chlorthalidone, right? Now, at last, you were about to flush your toilet seat, and you just, I don't know why, but you were quite disappointed with the shit in the seat, and you applied your pharmacologist mind and you remembered some phenomena known as osmosis. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but osmosis remembered. Anyhow, the osmosis, in osmosis you remember the mannitol, glycerol, and isosorbide. There's no mnemonic for this osmosis, so remember as it is, right? Okay, so now you have learned the potassium sparing diuretics, the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, the thiazides, and the loop diuretics. Now, having learned about these, let's move to the site of action of these all diuretics. So this, if you know, is a nephron. For those who don't know, nephron is the smallest structural and the function unit of kidney. This nephron, these are present in millions of number, right? Now each nephron consists of various parts. So starting with the Bowman's capsule, followed by the PCT or the proximal convoluted tubule, which follows the thin descent limb of the loop of Henle. This loop of Henle consists of two limbs, the thin descending limb and the thick ascending limb, which is preceded by the small part of thin ascending limb. Well, it's not very important, leave it. So thin descending limb and thick ascending limb. The thick ascending limb is followed by the DCT or the distal convoluted tubule, and this DCT opens, many DCTs open into this duct known as the collecting duct. Now this whole nephron is distributed among the two parts of the kidney, the cortex and the inner medulla. Well, this structure is quite complex and will be discussed in some other video in detail. For now, just remember this basic structure of the nephron, right? Now the drugs, what we have learned in the previous slides. Let's see, let's look at the site of action. So this loop diuretics act at the thick ascending limb, inhibiting what channel? Sodium potassium 2 chloride channel, right. These thiazides act at the DCT, inhibiting what channel? It was sodium chloride symporter, right? It was sodium chloride symporter. These carbonic anhydrase inhibitor act mainly at PCT, inhibiting the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, and the potassium sparing diuretics inhibit that ENAC and all those aldosterone antagonists, right? At the collecting duct, main action on the collecting duct. And lastly, the osmotic diuretics, it does not inhibit any of these receptors, but it is mainly present in these red colored blood vessels and performs diuresis by some physical mechanism, which we will be learning in detail in some other video. So now you have learned with me all the classes of diuretics with the examples of the various examples under the various headings. Now you'll revise with me the diuretics classes. So starting with loop diuretics, followed by the thiazides, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, potassium sparing diuretics, and osmotic diuretics. Loop diuretics, if you remember from the mnemonic, the leap year, right? 29th Fab toilet, furosemide, ithacrinic acid, bumetanide, and torsemide. Thiazides, if you remember that Thailand boy who micturated chlorine, so HCZ or the hydrochlorothiazides, metalazone, indapamide, and clopamide. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, if you remembered A, B, C, D, A for acetazolamide, brinzolamide, dorzolamide, right? And the potassium sparing diuretics include the spironolactone, eplerenone, amiloride, and triamterene. And at last, the osmotic diuretics include mannitol, glycerol, isosorbide, right? Now, this is how we classify diuretics in various broad classes. In some other video, we'll be going through very detail of each of these classes, right? Now, at last, a short note about the uses of diuretics. It's not very detailed. Each class of diuretics has got its own very use, right? So uses of diuretics is very evident from their action. So they cause fluid or iron loss in urine, which leads to decreased body fluid volume, and which helps in the which relieves conditions like hypertension, edema, and iron imbalance. We'll be going through very detail of these use of diuretics in some other video. For now, we conclude this video with a very good mnemonic of classification of diuretics. So like, share, and subscribe the video so that MindNotTired channel flourishes in future. Meet you in the next video. Till then, keep your mind not tired.